My next guest knows a few things about surviving ocean conditions and what it takes to find a body. Doug Bishop is an expert diver who focuses on missing persons cases. He's the founder of United Search Corps, and he joins me now live. Doug, I wanted to talk to you about some specifics with regard to the conditions on the shore at the time when Sudiksha may have gone missing, may have drowned. We don't know what it is. Could be both. Specifically, the tides at that exact time that those kids all went out to the beach. They were going out there at about 4:15 a.m. Were the tides coming in, or were the tides going out at that time?
And that's a great question. So we were able to learn that the high tide peaked there in that particular area near the resort at 4:21 a.m. That means whenever this incident occurred, it would have been during the ebb tide, which when a tide peaks, the following flow out is ebb. And that means the current is going out. You have sweeping currents that are coming off the shore. We know there was wind advisories and also high wave advisories. He admitted that he himself was knocked down and sort of struggled to get back to shore. These type of tides will absolutely create complications, not just for survivability, but also for the search. This type of tide, if you lose an individual in it, has the ability to drag you out upwards of a mile in certain situations.
So let's talk about some other conditions at the shore, not just the tide coming in or the tide going out, but things called rip tides and sweeps. Yes. Can you explain to the viewers what a sweep is and what a rip tide is and how it might, and I'm just going to let you know that the video we're watching is from that day. So when you see a red flag and you see roiling surf right at the water's edge where it meets the sand, that was the condition that exact day.
Yeah, so a rip current occurs when you have sweeping tides that go into each other and then form a rip current out. And so it feeds the currents coming into itself and then pushes it out. And these rip tides are almost always during high tides, and they're the most aggressive during these times. And it's not everybody's prepared, but you always want to remain calm, try to swim parallel to the shore, but you definitely don't want to struggle a lot because there's a lot of force. And anybody that's ever been to Punta Cana knows that the currents in this area are really, really strong. Even though the waves themselves aren't stronger to what we are accustomed to in other vacation areas, these waves and the currents there in particular are very, very strong. And please stick to your resorts if you're there. The water there is 80 degrees. In this particular scenario, which does aid in the search process. When you have 80-degree water, it speeds up the decomposition process in order to find human remains in such a vast body of water, such as the ocean.
I'm going to get to that in a moment because there's some issues with if someone does drown, do they sink? Do they float? When do they float? I'll get to that in a moment, but I want to stay with riptides for a moment and sweep because I have myself left a beach chair, gone into the ocean, puddled around only to look to the beach and realized I'm about 50 to 100 yards down the beach from where I went in. Is that because of a sweeping tide that takes you down a beach?
Yeah, you have a lot of these parallel currents that run along to the beach, and it happens within minutes. You can go in, you're somewhere very safe. And when you are off your feet, such as swimming or buoyant, it will take you very quickly without much alarm. And then you look up when you stand up and you're way down from where you went in. If you add, a rip current to this effect, as well as, winds and also the ebb tide, meaning the tide is now going out right after it has peaked. These things complicate, survivability and also search big time.
Let me ask you this again for those who hear these terms and wonder, well, what's the difference between a tide and a rip tide? Is this an accurate description? There's a lot of water coming into the beach with these big roiling white waves, right? And it's got to go back out. And so a rip current and a rip tide is like a narrow river that you can't see necessarily that's going out to the ocean, and it's like rapids, meaning if you end up sweeping down the beach on your back and enjoying yourself in a swim, you could suddenly end up in rapids going out to sea. Is that a correct description?
That is absolutely correct. Where you have a lot of water coming in, and depending on the underwater topography and also how they're hitting the shore and coming together, they will create rip currents, which is what typically lifeguards are from an elevated position and are looking for, which is water sweeping together and then going out into sea.
Thanks for watching. Go to joinnn.com to find NewsNation on your screen. And don't forget to click the red subscribe button below to get more of NewsNation's fact-driven, unbiased coverage.